listening to the LOZ Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the LOZ Podcast Network. You are either watching us in the LOZ app or you're listening to us on KRMS radio on Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we run a weekly show and we talk to people all over the lake about different things, about different promotions. Sometimes it's news, sometimes it's fun. Today, we have something that's really, really important to talk about. And we have she's on with us all the time, Cira Monnig, Lakeside Care Clinic. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to have you on today because there's actually something going on that is really prevalent to what you do, and I'm really interested to get your take on it because it's an interesting quandary that we have going on right now in the Missouri bill. We have a bill that's currently being discussed in Missouri that could allow nurse practitioners to practice independently after completing 2,000 hours under a physician. So for listeners who may not understand the current system, how does the collaborative agreement requirement work today for a nurse practitioner?
So in order for a nurse practitioner to practice, they have to collaborate with a physician, meaning the physician is supervising them. They review 10% of their charts, and if it's a controlled substance, they have to review 20% of the charts. There was a mileage radius at one point, but I believe that got lifted in the last couple of years. And so, but there still has to be a collaborative agreement in place for a nurse practitioner practice.
And so that under itself means that anybody who's a nurse practitioner has to find another physician who's going to collaborate with them to even operate in the state, right?
Correct.
So that creates a real access problem, doesn't it? I mean, a recent study said that 111 out of Missouri's 114 counties are experiencing a healthcare shortage. From your perspective as a nurse practitioner working with patients every day, what does that shortage actually look like on the ground?
Well, what happens is you have patients that don't have primary care providers. So, an injury happens, they get sick, something along those lines. Well, you can't just walk in and establish with a primary care when you need them. It has to already be established. And a lot of places, it takes 6 to 9 months to even get an established appointment with a primary care provider. So say you get sick during that time frame and you need to be seen. Well, the only option is to go to the urgent care, or if it's after hours, ER. So now they're clogging the ERs with a sinus infection or something along those lines. And so things that shouldn't be in the ER, and really that just starts with the shortage in primary care.
And there's in a lot of these towns in Missouri, there's not even an urgent care available, right? So it's not like there's all these urgent cares that are just waiting for patients. I mean, it's becoming a real problem for access.
Yeah, we have a lot of really rural towns that it may take, a patient an hour and a half to even get to a close urgent care or ER. So for them not to have a primary care option in those areas, it's huge because they really struggle with getting seen, and things like blood pressure, diabetes, they just ignore them. They just don't get them treated. And so then they end up in the hospital with something more severe because it's uncontrolled.
And, you hear the stories, like you said, about patients in rural areas using emergency rooms for basic care. Like, that's not what they were built for. That's not going to help the patient. More from just a timing or even a cost standpoint, because, if you go to an ER for any kind of, they're great for when you need them, but if you're going there for a sinus infection or something that's just general care, I mean, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. But expanding that practice authority for nurse practitioners could potentially change that, right?
Absolutely. It very much so could, because you have nurse practitioners that even live in these towns. They're driving an hour just to work with a healthcare organization. But maybe that healthcare organization, they're not going to open a satellite clinic in a small rural town because there's not enough business to warrant it. Whereas if a nurse practitioner was out there, a nurse practitioner, they don't cost as much, number one, as a physician, and they could open their own clinic at that point and, manage people from a primary care standpoint, and take care of them.
And that's a good point. Let's talk about that a little bit, because like when someone comes into your clinic, they can get seen usually within the same day. They can be in and out for a reasonable amount of money. And then if they decide they're going to be a member of the clinic, you have memberships, then they're kind of like full access when they need it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have membership. So we have the walk-in clinic that you could just walk in if you're sick. For those people that are, oh, I don't need a primary care provider because I never go to the doctor, except for the one time when they do need a doctor or to be seen. They will can still have an option to come in and be seen for a one-time visit. They also have the option to become a member, which gets them access for evenings, weekends, after hours number. And my goal with that is truly so that we're preventing urgent care and ER visits. We're really, capturing the problem when it's occurring and treating them when it's needed.
So let's say, some physicians are opposing this bill, obviously, and they say removing supervision could impact quality of care. As a nurse practitioner, how do you respond to that concern about balancing access with maintaining high quality medical care?
I I think there's a lot of studies out there that, in other states that do have full practice for nurse practitioners that will show quality is not sacrificed. It's not reduced at all. In fact, patient satisfactions are higher than the scores go up. I mean, they just increase. And so, not to say that a nurse practitioner is better than a physician or anything like that. Like that's not something I'm gonna ever get into, because I don't think that. I think that we should all be focused on working together to treat the patients and just take care of people.
And truly giving somebody as much care as they can get, and making it as convenient. If you can get in and you can see your nurse practitioner on a more regular basis, you're going to be healthier. I mean, you're going to, if you have that access, it's going to be a better situation than if you have to wait every 6 or 9 months to go see somebody and you don't, in between, you always got things going on. And if you had the access, you would use it, but that's not always available to people.
No, it's definitely not available, and I think that if nurse practitioners did have full practice authority, then I do think that you would see a lot of clinics going up in these rural areas, these small towns, and getting back to being proactive and preventative with patients and managing their disease processes to prevent urgent care, ER, and hospitalizations.
And let's talk about, Missouri versus other states. I mean, nearly every state bordering Missouri already allows nurse practitioners to practice independently. What lessons can Missouri learn from those states that have already made this change?
Look at the data. Look, I mean, they're there. I mean, there's 39 other states that have given nurse practitioners full practicing authority. Look at the data, pull the data, and see what the results are. We're not the first ones. We're not the first state trying to get full practice authority. So I think that they're, and looking at other states and how they do it. Some give nurse practitioners full practice authority after completing 2,000 hours with a collaborative physician or 4,000 hours with a collaborative physician. That's actually the bill that's trying to get passed now, which I think is great, and I think it's a good meet in the middle that physicians maybe give them a little bit of peace of mind and knowing that they did spend a couple of years with physician oversight before they were just completely independent. I mean, it would be essentially no different than a residency if you're doing it that way. So,
But if the bill passes, it's a real impact on patients, and it's going to change the day to day experience for a lot of people in these small communities, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, very much so. I mean, having healthcare access um, locally, I mean, you're talking about some rural towns people don't have transportation. I mean, people don't realize that when you get to like the extreme rural towns, a lot of people don't even have transportation to go to the next town to get healthcare. The access is a thing. And so if nurse practitioners do get full practice authority, they can open clinics in those towns where those people that transportation may be hard for can still be seen and taken care of.
And, let's talk a little bit about looking ahead. So, let's say this bill passes. There's, as a clinic owner, what do you believe the biggest opportunity is for people in these rural areas, and in Missouri in particular, to take advantage of this new way? And I say new way. Look, we're not the first state doing this. We would be the 40th state. So obviously, they've discovered that this is a pretty good way to go, and that the patients are going to get a lot of benefit, right?
They are, yeah, and I think they need to look at other states and again, look at the data. It I think it's so important we have to open access to patients. We have to improve access throughout Missouri to patients for family practice, and having healthcare. This is a huge step in that direction. Giving nurse practitioners full practice authority really opens the door to opening that healthcare access and allowing people to have healthcare.
And well, we're lucky here at the lake because we've got you and we've got your practice, and you are accepting members, right? You still have room. And tell everybody kind of what you're doing over there and some of the new things you have going on.
Yeah, so at Lakeside Care Clinic, we talked about the walk-in clinic and the primary care membership-based clinic, but we also have a host of wellness services. So we do vitamin infusions, hormone replacement, weight loss. We also do aesthetics. So I'll do Botox and filler. But my newest service is hair restoration, which I am very excited about. We have an ultrasound that can help really add nutrients to the scalp, the tissue there, so that it can help hair grow better and become healthier.
And you were telling me a little bit out the air about this new process, and you're like the only one that has this, right? I mean, this is like it's an exclusive to you.
Yeah, so no light. It's just ultrasound. It has a little bit of air pressure that the ultrasound dilates the tissue out, the cells, so that then you add a serum on just top of the scalp. And then you use the device again. And with ultrasonic waves, in addition to a little bit of air pressure, it just pushes that serum right down to the hair follicles. And really, I always think about it like a garden. Like you're going to fertilize the soil, you're going to make sure the soil's healthy so that the plants can grow. Same thing for a scalp. You need to make sure that scalp tissue is healthy so that you can get the best growth from the hair follicles. And that's what this is allowing.
Well, there you have it, folks. Cira Monnig, Lakeside Care Clinic. She's the one we go to when we have all the questions. And thanks so much for joining us today on this new issue, because I know it's close to home for you. And I sure hope Missouri gets on board and passes that so that we can get the healthcare to the people in the rural areas that really need it. And I think you guys are doing an awesome job. So hopefully we can get more people have it available to them.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks for having me. And honestly, just giving me the opportunity to talk about this, because I do feel very passionate about it. So I'm excited to see what happens this year.
All right, folks, there you have it. That's the latest episode with Cira Monnig, Lakeside Care Clinic. And we will be right back after these words.